Gave me style, God gave me grace. God gave me style, God gave me grace. God put a smile on my face. And then I elbowed you in your face. Hey, what's happening, Quad? Are you ready for this? Hey, this is the prediction thing for the that three-lettered thing, 135, and it's between John Bones Jones and Quentin Rampage Jackson. And it's tonight, and I'm just now getting the vid out because I said, you know what the heck, might as well throw my hat and ring with the other UFC predictor dudes. I figured, what the heck, what's worse they can do? Kick this video off too, like they did my other ones. Anyway, going into this, it's the prediction, so I'm going to break both fighters down and then give my prediction at the end, right? Start out with John Bones Jones. There is John Bones Jones. Don't say it too fast. Anyway, he's 24 years old. He's 6'4". He's fighting in the 205-pound division that they have there, the light heavyweight division. And the one thing that jumps out at you, I mean, aside from the fact he's freaky fast and all that good stuff, he's got an 84.5-inch reach. And that is by far the biggest reach in UFC basically history. If it was in boxing, it'd be right up there too. Like George Foreman, I think, was at 82. So, freakish reach for this guy. And at 6'4", it only adds to the reach that he actually has. His spinning elbows, the flying knees, all that stuff, amazingly fast. If he gets you to the ground, you're going to have problems with him. This is a state high school champion who's also a junior college champion, and that was at one of the Iowa universities. So the man can wrestle as well as strike, and he's a very, very good striker. In his 13 wins, he should be 14, the one was a disqualification because he used 12-6 elbows. Now, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm looking at a clock, and I see 12 and I see 6. So you can't come straight down on them, apparently, when they're on the ground. Of course, they've changed the rules. That used to be pretty legal, so you gotta watch those. But his 10-5s, or whatever you want to call those, are very, very deadly. And so his one loss, that's a disqualification. And it wasn't like he wasn't winning that fight handedly, when that fight came down. He's only been in the MMA for 3 years, but yet he's got the big wins over Shogun. He's got the big wins over these guys. And when you see that, it only perpetuates, wow, this new style, the aggressiveness and the aggression that he shows is crazy. But don't forget about his submissions. That guillotine choke is deadly with him, and he's more than willing to do that. The problem is when you're knocking out well over 50% of the guys you fight, it's hard to get submissions in as well. Now, he's went the distance with guys like Bonner and those, but that's only happened twice out of the 14 fights, and that really wouldn't have happened. Maybe now. I mean, he's really stepping up his game, freakishly aggressive. He gets you down on the ground. Those elbows rain in like it's nobody's business. They're so fast that it's hard to block those. And while you're covering up, he can get around and then choke you out. So that's very, very dangerous with him. About the only question you could have is maybe his stamina. But I mean, the third round, he went the third round in his last fight and looked pretty good doing it. So, he got the knockout in the third round. So, you got to love that. Going over to Rampage Jackson. This is a very solid, compact, powerful man. Now, he's shorter at 6'1", and his reach is way shorter at 73. He actually has a short reach for a guy that's 6'1". And but if he gets inside, you're going to have to look out. He's got a lot of power behind those punches. His body slams are legendary in the sport. And it seems like he's been in the MMA forever. I mean, he's been in there since 1999, which in MMA terms he's like one of the Methuselahs. He's really been around a long time. He's had the 40 MMA fights. He's 32-8 in those. And if you look at it, he started out 10-1 at one time, so he's 22-7. And I know in UFC or MMA, I apologize, I don't want to say that name too much, get the video kicked off. But when you start looking at that, that's 66% winning percentage. It's not that great. Okay, maybe it's 67 or 68 because there's 22 wins instead of 21. But that's But that's with the UFC. I mean, he's beaten very solid fighters, in Liddell, Silva, and Henderson. But he's also lost against some good fighters, and that's against Forrest Griffin and Rashad Evans. And he can beat the bangers. So if you're going to bang with him, you're in deep trouble, because he can take a decent shot and he can give one. But he struggles with the boxers, people that keep their distance and stuff like that. And he's open for combos, as Rashad Evans showed. But he has a good sprawl when he gets close, so it's hard to take him down. But he does turn his back a lot when you notice this. If you watch his fights, you'll see he's turned his back on a few of the fighters he's went against. Rashad Evans is not big on the submission thing there. He was open many times for it. So when you start looking at this stuff, and he's not getting any younger, so just throwing that out there too. And when you start looking at all this stuff, obviously if the fight is close and he keeps it inside, that's where Rampage Jackson is going to be able to do the most damage. But he's got to get close, and he's actually got to get on top. He cannot afford to be on his back at any time during this. If you look at John Jones, my recommendation would be to keep your distance, keep the strikes, keep him away from you. Watch the spins. Don't get too close in, because if he can grab you during the spin, because he does have the experience. Second Jackson sees your back, he's going to dive in on you. So he's going to have to watch that with the spins and stuff. If he keeps those tight and doesn't get caught, obviously it's going to be obvious to his advantage. But ultimately, the way I see this fight playing out is I see it does wind up going to the ground, and I think Jones doesn't get the knockout, but more he gets this by submission. His strikes will force Rampage into turning away, kind of giving up his back, and he gets choked out. Or maybe just does the guillotine choke, chokes him out. The guy's got arms that are freakishly long, and he can get a choke in almost from across the ring. So when you see that, that's how I see the fight going. Would I be shocked if Jones knocked out Jackson? Not really, but at the same time, it's the UFC. Anything could happen. I should just say it's MMA. Anything could happen, because it's not just in the UFC where that could happen. All right? Well, hey, this is Bigragu. Please comment, rate, subscribe. If you want to be my friend or Eduardo's friend, that's great too. Okay? Wait, I'm out.